Greetings. Happy 4th of July weekend. I would do a little video today. We haven't done it for a couple of weeks. We've got some special things we want to talk about. First and foremost, we've got a new pandemic survival kit. Or I should say, pandemic survival box. And it's going to have a few new things in it. Not everything is here yet today, but we will have just this wonderful wine. There's a bit of a theme developing here today, and it's wines of the Savoie in eastern France and the Alps foothills. I found this great wine. It's a Gamay, an old vine Gamay from a wonderful place we visited a couple of years ago. It's their Cuvée Prestige. Banish all thoughts of Beaujolais Nouveau and anything like that. This is a serious red wine that drinks more like a Burgundy from the high limestone slopes above Jonjou. So that'll be in the box. Some of the things we've had in the past couple of weeks will be in there too. One that I'm particularly pleased with is this Rosso di Montalcino from Poliziano. I love Poliziano. These guys are great. This is Sangiovese. Another kind of a theme for today. But let's talk about these wines. A couple of whites. Summertime, time for whites. Summertime doesn't have to be white time for me. I drink these year round. But I have a really interesting wine from Italy right now, from actually southern Italy, from Basilicata. You don't see a lot of wines like these. For one thing, production's fairly small. For another thing, if you do see them, they're from co-ops and fairly low quality. This, however, is a totally different animal. It's from a really great winery that is, the managing consultant is very experienced in Montepulciano and various other areas around Italy. He's made great wines for the last 25 years. He took this place over with some other people in a consortium, and they're making this wonderful Greco Fiano blend. Greco is an ancient grape. These are both ancient grapes of southern Italy, and a lot of people think they have Greek antecedents and that the Greeks brought them originally, but they've done a little amphilography to try to find out where they come from, and they could be, actually Fiano could be the grape that was the base of Falernian, which was one of the great wines of ancient Rome, believe it or not. So a little bit of history for you there. But what I like about both of these white wines, and what makes them great for summertime, or really any time, is that I think a lot of people don't get exploratory about whites. They don't want to look very hard for good whites or spend very much for them. And actually these are both very reasonable. And they frankly just don't know enough about them. But there's a lot of great white wines out there, including from Italy. In fact, most of the wine made in Italy is white. People don't know that, but most of it isn't very good. What I like about both of these is the palate persistence, the depth, and the interesting flavor profile, and the unusual flavor profile of both of these wines. So Greco, 50-50 with Fiano. From Pipoli in Basilicata, a 2018. This one has this just wonderful kind of honeyed nose to it, honeyed almond and that type of thing, along with some fresh flowers, wildflowers. And the honey thing is really interesting because the other ancient wine from Rome that's known as one of the great wines of history is Appianum. And of course, api is the Latin for bee. So the idea of honey here really kind of runs through this whole thing. Honey, not sweet. This is a very dry wine with kind of a little kiss of bitterness in the aftertaste. Super clean, great middle palate. This wine just persists and persists. So for right now, it's just ideal for sitting outside. Seafood, shellfish, or just on its own. It's just lovely. Nothing thin about this wine at all. Really coats the mouth. Great acidity, real super refreshing. Serve this chilled, or even how this is right now, it's somewhat warm, which really brings out the richness of the wine. And that's what you're looking for in an interesting white wine. You're looking for good cut, good tension, but you're also looking for substance. Both of these wines have incredible substance. The second wine is Altesse from the Savoie. This is a great producer. Unfortunately, Patrick Charlin is in his 60s. He's getting ready to retire. This is an area east of Lyon, which I highly recommend visiting. We had a great time here a couple of years ago visiting Jonjou and this area as well. This is up in the Alps foothills, but it's a very warm area. These are southwest facing slopes that get the full amount of sun. And the unique things about these soils is they're schistic, but they're also limestone. So the soil types really give a lot of backbone to the wine. And the characteristic of Altesse de Bougie, which is what this is, Bougie is the small, the synonym is Rosette de Bougie, from the small town of Montagnoux. This is the highest quality Altesse there is from this tiny village. But there's only 20 hectares of this great planet in Bougie, so it's very rare. Add to that the fact that Charlene is retiring. This is a real rare find. I only have a couple of cases. I hesitated to even show this wine, but it's so exceptional. I really wanted to make sure that people got a sniff of this at least. This is a fantastic wine that has this sort of chamomile tarragon, believe it or not. Also high-tone citrus, but there's apple and melon, all these different things in here. Plus this minerality that just runs throughout the entire wine, this petrichlor thing that is characterized as wet stone, really comes through and kind of gives a framework to all those wonderful fruit and herbal flavors. But it's not herbal in an obnoxious way like a vermouth or something like that. It's very subtle, but once again, this is a wine you can see by just the viscosity of it. It has a huge presence to it in the glass and in the nose and on the palate. It's got beautiful clarity. It's a super rich wine, but it's dry and minerally. This wine is all native yeast. It sees no wood except neutral barrel. No new wood in either one of these wines. This is stainless steel. These are two absolutely fantastic wines. This is a rare wine that's normally about 35 bucks. I marked this down to 25 bucks because I think it's just such a tremendous value, even at that price, especially at that price. This wine is $21.95, and this has got a nice sale price to it as well. And so those both will have the Wine Club discount for Wine Club members, an additional 15% off of that. And then as for the reds, I found some really great reds this week that I'm really pleased with. Montesecondo is a wonderful producer of Chinati Classico. They're just southwest of Florence, Firenze, in the Classico zone. And they're in San Casciano, near Serbai. This is a 90% old vine Sangiovese, blended with Colorino and Canaiolo. And the guy that does this has become a real devotee, the owner of the vineyard, Silvio, has become a real devotee of biodynamic farming. And he's become friends with Nicolas Joly of the Loire, of Savinier. And he's converted recently in 2003 to biodynamic farming completely. He's a really interesting cat. There are two vineyards here, one a little higher elevation, one a little lower, and he blends the two for his Chianti Classico. He only makes one wine. He doesn't even mess with reservas. He doesn't believe in that. So there is no SO2 during fermentation, only a little bit used at the end. This wine is incredibly rich. I've had these wines for about 10 years now. I've worked with this guy. And it's just some of the most beautiful and elegant Chianti you're going to find. The 17 vintage was an exception, and this wine just knocked it out of the park in 2017. My goodness, just a beautiful nose, very elegant, dark cherry, wonderful red fruits, deep red fruits, cherry and berry, wild berry. And that wonderful little balsam hit that you get from these, but there's a sweetness to the nose too that's just really incredibly charming. That's too good. That's just so delicious. Get yourself a big bistecca fiorentina for the weekend. Get a bottle of this. You'll be incredibly delighted. Wonderful vibrancy to this wine. There's a beautiful life ahead of this wine, but it is so lovely now that you'll probably not be able to keep your hands off of it. I know I won't be. And this wine really loves, Tuscany, it's not so much about red sauce and all that kind of stuff. It's more about beans, and mushrooms, and meat. They really love steak. And that's what these wines really love too. In fact, wines like these, I think, really fight with red sauce because the acidity is so pronounced. You don't want to do anything to really increase that. But they love fat, they love protein. Okay, the last wine is a real score. Jean Didier, this guy is a great producer of Chateauneuf du Pape. This wine's on a wonderful markdown. And it's a 2013, which is great for Chateauneuf, especially a guy who makes wines as refined and fine as Didier. This is called Clef d'Or, Golden Key. And if you walk into the village of Chateauneuf du Pape, and you go down to the main square, there's several restaurants, and take one of the streets off to the left, up towards the old castle, you'll walk up their ways on your way out of town, you'll see this little walled-in sort of courtyard with these beautiful, huge plane trees, and that's Didier's place. Originally coopers, they made barrels for the people in Chateauneuf du Pape, and moved into winemaking about 50 or 60 years ago, a couple of generations ago. They kind of hang under in the background. Their wines are not flashy, they're very well put together, very elegant and seamless. That's the thing these two wines have in common. They really have an elegance to them, an understated elegance. Chateauneuf can be kind of overbearing at times, and the fact that this is a 13, a more subtle vintage, really helps it. Plus the bottle age of 7 years is fantastic. Oh my goodness, this is just classic old vine, super old vine Grenache. There's also Syrah and several other of the standard grapes in Chateauneuf du Pape as blending grapes. This has just got the great classic nose. Oh man, that white pepper and that beautiful raspberry thing, raspberry coulis that Grenache has. This thing is ready to drink now. It's wonderful right now. It's priced like many people's Baccarat or Gigondas, or even some people's Côte du Rhône. This thing is $32.95, normally $45. It's a great buy. That's actually $34.95, gets down to $32 with the Wine Club discount. But a 2013, for what it's worth, it got great scores. All these wines did. But those are my 4 kind of featured wines for the week that I'm really excited about. As I said, limited supply on this one, limited supply on this one. This just got released. This wine is somewhat limited as well. Like I said, it's on a great sale price. And incidentally, if you wanted to keep this wine or this wine for the near term, they would sell her very, very well, as would this wine. But on these two, I don't see the reason why you would. Okay, so anyway, that's the 4th of July week here at Authentica. And by the way, we're continuing our, what I call curbside pickup. It's actually hallway pickup in our case. We're not having people in the shop. We just can't do it. It's not big enough. We can't socially distance. But we encourage your special orders. And I know I've had a lot of requests from you people for pandemic survival boxes this week and last week. So we have a new one coming out.
15.
I'm sorry?
15 seconds.
Oh, anyway, thanks, and we hope to see you soon. Take care and stay safe.